Alrighty, guys. Hopefully this is a little better. I think I figured out the audio issue that you guys were experiencing in the second half of the program. It was in my endeavors to answer comments that I caused the problem myself. Apparently, even though I had my speakers muted, when I opened up another browser window to open the comments, it opened up a second feed of the video, and it was looping the audio back through itself. It was rebroadcasting old audio on top of new audio after a 10-second delay. So I couldn't hear it on my end because my speakers are muted, because that would be awkward to have myself playing out loud in the room on a 10-second delay. But that's exactly what you guys were hearing, and I apologize for that. So sorry, that explains why viewership went down to 30 during the After Schrock there. Ironically, the entire issue is Microsoft's fault. So Microsoft released a patch last patch Tuesday, so last Tuesday, not this previous Tuesday, but the one before that, the 12th, I think. And that patch has issues with people who use remote desktop and virtualized desktops. So every week on the show, I've got my production laptop that is handling all the camera stuff, right? I don't do anything else with that laptop, just in case it gets taxed or whatever. I want it to have nothing else going on aside from piping you delicious, nutritious audio and video. That's all I want it doing. The computer over here on my right is usually remoted into my home computer, where I am going through, answering comments, doing things like that. My home computer, I can't remote into it. I remote in and it locks up because of this patch. Now there's a new patch Microsoft's releasing. I just haven't installed it yet. I only remote into the computer a couple different ways, so it's not that big of a deal typically. And of course it was working fine last night, and now today it's not. So anyway, hopefully the audio is better. If someone wants to give me an audio check and let me know, I'd appreciate it. But yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, instead I just logged into Facebook here on the studio computer, which normally I don't log into my personal accounts on a public computer because that's never a good security plan. I remote into my home computer and log in from there. But given the situation, I had to make an exception today. So the sad thing is we already have more viewers during the After Schrock than we had at the end of the show because of the looping audio. Alrighty. Thor, if Windows 11 is installed, does that mean the security is set up in the... Yeah, it does. Yeah, your security is set up in the BIOS if you have Windows 11, because you can't install it if it's not. That's the reason that a lot of the computers are not compatible with Windows 11. Processors are too old, or motherboards don't have the proper security stuff. And because the motherboards are so old, the manufacturers of those boards are not going to push out updates to make them compatible. Because, why would they? Why would they? All right, so a little feedback, guys. The NFT thing. I know that was a little inside baseball for most average listeners, but I also felt that it was kind of a new category that people need to be introduced to if I'm talking about what's going on in the tech world, it's impossible to talk about what's going on in the tech world without at least mentioning NFTs. And you can't mention NFTs if you don't understand what an NFT is. So let me know, did I do an okay job of explaining that, or is there anything I could have done better? I'm always looking to improve, and it's been a long time since I've had to introduce people to a completely foreign concept. Everybody understands you need antivirus, right? There was a time when we had to introduce antivirus on the program. Like, this is what it is. This is why you need it. Safe upgrade. There was a time when people didn't understand that you had to keep your Windows versions up to date. We had to introduce that as a new concept. Secure updater. You have to keep your programs up to date. We introduced that as a concept. Drive advisor. Do you know your hard drive dies before it dies? We can detect that. Introduce that as a concept. So there's been new concepts over the history of the show. That was definitely one, and I can say we're probably not going to make an NFT product at Schrock. But I almost thought about it just for the grins of doing it during the radio show. We could make an NFT of, like, I don't know what, like a picture of a computer or something, and then we could give it away at the end of the program. Like, now you own this NFT. If you want to sell it to somebody else in Schrockville who might give you $10 for it, you just made $10 and you sold your first NFT. Pretty slick, huh? Anyway. Let's see. Audio's good. Yeah, the lovely Kimberly made me a new green screen because I made the old one and it was looking a little ratty. So she made the new backdrop for me, and I got up extra early this morning, as the bags under my eyes will attest to get in here in the lighting that's in the studio, because you can see I'm a little shiny, but the background is brighter. I have a little line around me, but not a halo. So there's all these little chroma key settings you have to screw around with, and it's trial and error. You just need time, because every lighting environment is different, and this studio's lighting is atrocious. So we have to get it figured out. You shouldn't be able to see that that's a green screen if I was doing it perfectly right. But to do that, I would need more than, literally, I can reach back here without even extending my arm all the way and touch the screen. It's supposed to be like 5 feet back from me. There's supposed to be lights on the floor shooting up on the screen, making it nice and bright. There's not. Because my chair, if I roll my chair back, I hit the screen. So there's just not a lot of room in here. But we'll see. All right, let's see. Comments. Buffering. Yeah, we're up. Oh, we're back on the wire. The engineer over here at the radio station was able to get the wire working again, so I was not on wireless today. So there should have been less buffering. There should have been more consistent. I did a speed test also this morning to make sure my speeds were good. Everything is fantastic on my end. So if there is buffering, it's either Facebook buffering or your internet connection is not working properly or your device needs to be restarted. The internet signal coming out of the studio I give them hell when it's not. So when it's working great, I got to give the engineers credit. It's amazing. I'm getting 30 megabytes a second upload right now, or Mbps upload right now. I need 3 to run the radio show. So 30 is like room to spare. I could stream in HD. All right, Thor, did you say there was a security issue with Macs? Gosh darn, these little at the beginning of the radio show. Well, there's always a security concern with Macs all the time. You need to have antivirus on your Mac. I mean, you need it. Is there anything that's urgent or pressing at the moment? No. There's nothing on the show that I was reporting on specifically, but you need antivirus on your Mac, just like you would need it on a PC or on a phone. Let's see. I thought you explained NFTs okay, even though my eyes glazed over a little bit during the explanation. Yeah. I don't blame you. NFTs are not. They're not. When you break it down, like it's the same thing. It's just done in a different way. So when the automobile was created, it was. Wait, you don't need horses? It pushes itself? What is this sorcery? People understand if you go to an auction and you buy a piece of art. People get that. You're bidding on art. You own the painting. There's only one of the painting. That's what makes it valuable. That's an NFT. It's a digital way to do all of the above online. You can create digital art rather than putting it on a canvas, because screens are art. We have a giant screen in our living room called a television. Samsung makes this. They call it the frame. And you buy a picture frame for it. You put it around the edges, and you hang it on the wall, and it looks like, so when you're not watching TV, you just set it to be a picture. And it looks like a painting on the wall. Now, of course, at night, you can see there's a backlight and everything because the picture's lit. It's kind of weird. We hung some fake lights over the TV, though, pointing down at it, so it kind of just looks like, no, it's lit because those lights are there. Those are lights, It's not a TV. What's wrong with you? But eventually, screens are canvases, guys. So digital art, it's not such a stretch of the imagination to want to buy and sell digital art online, but you have this concern because it's digital, you can just make copies of it, right? If I take a picture of you with my phone, I can make a million copies of that. I can send it out 1,000,000 times at 0 additional cost. Therefore, there's no rarity. And everything in the collectibles market, everything is driven by rarity. So if there's if infinite supply means no price, right? Limited supply, suddenly, even if the price is low, there's a price because there's only one. And that's what an NFT does, is it allows you to serialize your creation so that everybody knows who has the original. And yes, you could still copy it. You could still copy the art, but everyone's going to know it's a copy. Everyone's going to know that you stole it when you show it. It's like if you had a copy, if you were a rich guy and you had a copy of a Monet and you had it hung on your wall and underneath it there was a little plaque thing, this is a copy, it is not original artwork, it was stolen. It's the same thing. Literally, it would be like a sign hanging below the painting. So if you wanted the painting to look at it, to actually just appreciate it yourself, you could certainly do that. But just like you could take a screenshot of somebody's artwork and save it on your computer and you've got the artwork, right? but you don't have the actual original digital file. That's the difference. And that NFT serializes that file, serializes that creation so that you know it's the original. Same way that VIN numbers work on cars. You can't ever change the VIN number, and every car gets its own VIN number. There's never any repeats. And you can know everything there is to know about a car with the VIN number. Well, imagine that the VIN number was an NFT, and that when you went to go buy it or sell it or trade it, rather than going to the DMV and scratching on a title and doing all that crap, because we've all filled that out wrong before, right? Had to get a new one. You just transferred it digitally. That's an NFT. So that's pretty straightforward stuff when you break it down. How long will it take Bitcoins to come back up? Also, can you give us an update on the leasing a desktop from you? How long will it take Bitcoin to come back up? A couple different ways we can frame this conversation. Like I've said before, there's two types of investors in cryptocurrency. There are people who are stacking coins regardless of how much those coins are worth in comparison to US dollars. So this would be like me asking you, when is the euro going to come back up? Well, I don't really care. I'm not actually spending a euro. I don't really care what I can buy with a euro. I just want to know when I can trade my euro for more dollars. So if you're asking when is Bitcoin going to come back up, there are some on-trend or some charts. There are some on-chart trends that are showing that Bitcoin could have a 62% increase in the next 60 days, which would erode a lot of the losses that it's experienced recently, bring it back up in dollar value. If it does that, you should sell that. You should sell that pop. I think the other thing that has been pointed out to me, this is going to be something for those of you who trade stocks that might be interested in. The last few months, Bitcoin and cryptos in general have been acting like a 24/7 VIX measurement. So it's a measure of risk in the marketplace, risk tolerance in the marketplace. And because Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies trade 24/7, unlike normal stock markets, your stock markets are closed right now. But the crypto markets are open. And the crypto markets got absolutely demolished yesterday. Like 10, 12% down yesterday, on top of 10, 12% down, on top of 30% down. I mean, it's just been like leg down, leg down, leg down. Why? Well, if this is a measure of VIX, what you're going to see on Monday is a huge sell-off again. You're going to see bond interest rates either go up temporarily or not go up at all, and you're going to see the stock market sell off. And no one can explain it. Like financial veterans on all the financial shows are like, I don't know how we mess this up, because we've never been this messed up. Like bonds and stocks are moving independently of each other. There's no rhyme or reason, no seeming connection at all. The Fed is squawking about raising interest rates by, everybody knows he can't go higher than 2.8 or the entire economy implodes. So he's talking about like what? Maybe a 50 basis point hike, like 0.5%. And this is the carnage. And this is more than a taper tantrum. This is the carnage we're going to experience in the markets when we raise interest rates. And we all know we have to raise interest rates. Now the question is, how do the politics play into it? Because when we raise the interest rates, we're going to cause a recession. So we're going to be going into the midterm elections on top of everything else in a recession. Some people think we're already in the recession. Is a recession the right time to raise interest rates? Most people would argue no. That's not the time to tighten money. The time to tighten money would have been when Trump was president and things were going good. That would have been the time to start selling off and raising rates and tightening things up a little bit. And because you can't constantly keep the Kool-Aid flowing, or you end up with a zombie market, which is kind of where we're at after 12 years of having the Kool-Aid flowing constantly. And the only way you can get a sugar rush is to get even more Kool-Aid, right? So here's what's probably going to happen. Stocks are going to sell off huge tomorrow, tomorrow, Monday. And when that happens, the Federal Reserve is going to come out and dovishly jawbone. In other words, he's not going to say he's going to do anything different, but he's going to say it more nicely, right? Maybe we'll have to be more responsive to market conditions, i.e., we're not going to let the stock market fall like a rock. Once that dovish talk happens, which it's going to happen, you know it's going to happen. It may not change the reality of what happens, but at least the talk is going to happen. When that happens, crypto prices are going to bounce. NASDAQ is going to bounce. So I would not be short right now. All the cryptos are oversold. Look at how much they've fallen compared to other risk stocks. People are selling their crypto to raise money to pay off their positions on their leverage for the risk stocks. Basically, who thought Amazon was going to crash, right? Netflix, what the heck? Kaboom! Netflix drops. Anything that was a pandemic winner is now not, because everyone's figuring out that Omicron is just a cold and no one is dying from it. And yes, people are getting hospitalized, but it's no more than we'll get hospitalized if we had a bad flu going around. Except we've, fired half the nurses and told the rest of them, if you get a cold, you can't come to work for 5 days. You wonder if there's going to be staffing issues. Anyway, all this stuff happens, but eventually Omicron you can't hide the truth of this forever, that it's just a bad cold right now. It's not killing people. Even people who are at risk of illness because they have comorbidities are not dying of Omicron. So once that gets filtered through, once everybody gets the last mask mandate out of their system, England, do you know that England just dropped all mandates? There is no more vaccine passport in England. There are no more masks anywhere in England. There are there's no vaccination campaign, because it's not really a vaccine, it's a therapeutic. If you look at the definition of a vaccine, COVID vaccines do not qualify because they do not prevent illness for at least a year. That's what a vaccine does. This doesn't do it. It's a therapeutic. It helps you from staying hospitalized, apparently. That's what a therapeutic is. Now, Italy and France are also looking at doing the same thing, because they're realizing, yes, the cases were huge, but the deaths were nothing. Everybody was scared because everyone is anticipating all the cases always come 14 days before a wave of death, right? 14 days came and went and there was no wave of death. Oh. Well, shoot. Why are we locking everybody down and making them wear masks and not letting them eat at restaurants and making them get shots that they don't need? And, this is kind of stupid. We should stop doing this. We're kind of hurting ourselves here. And hopefully that will spread and we can learn to live with COVID, and hopefully it continues to evolve it's going to probably become endemic, is what I'm hearing everybody say now. I didn't realize this, but before 1918, we didn't have a seasonal flu. I mean, I wasn't around for that, so I didn't know that. But basically, from what I heard reported this week was that we had the pandemic in 1918, and that eventually became endemic and is now the seasonal flu that lots of people get, but very few die from. Okay. Well, maybe that's where COVID's going to be. It's going to be the new seasonal cold that everybody gets every year, because it's going to evolve and continue to mutate and whatever else. So anyway, I don't want to spend too much time on it, because you just end up upsetting people, or people disagree and they hang up their connection or whatever. We can all be adults. If you want to go get vaccinated, go get vaccinated. If you don't. Eventually the world's going to stop responding like a bunch of crazed nutters. They have to. You can't keep this up forever. You go insane. But in the meantime, we're going to have one last hurrah in Douglas County. We're going to have one last hurrah with Papillion High Schools and grade schools. One last hurrah in Bellevue with their schools. One last hurrah in Lancaster County. It's nice to go to my Des Moines Service Center where I don't have to wear a mask. That's kind of cool. But yeah, it's just, yeah. So how long will it take for Bitcoins to come back up? Well, you know what? Plan B says they're going to be $100,000 this year. So I guess here's the thing. It depends why you're into Bitcoin. I believe that eventually, regardless of what happens in the short-term market machinations, Bitcoin is going to be worth a lot of money. A lot more, like up to $1 million of today's dollars per coin. It would be foolish for you to sell at $35,000. It would be slightly less foolish for you to sell at 60. You would only be qualified as slightly stupid if you sold at 100. What about $500,000? Do you sell there? I mean, everyone's got their price. Mine's about 130. When it hits 130, that's when I'm going to start trying to actively trade it again. Because I know in the world of crypto, stuff like this happens. 30, 50, 80% drops happen. You'll always have an opportunity to get back in. It may not be as quickly as you would like, but you will always have the opportunity to get back in. So what did I do yesterday? I bought $1,000 in crypto yesterday. Yeah, I didn't go throw the whole farm at it because I'm not sure if the rock is done falling here, right? I'm trying to catch a falling knife, and we all know how that works out. Sometimes you get lucky and you get the handle, though. I was lucky enough to have actually sold some positions and some coins on a spike that didn't make sense to me. I'm like, why is it up 20%? Why is Sunny Coin up 20%? I have no idea. It's probably a pump and dump. You know what you do at the top of a pump and dump? You dump. So I sold it all. And I'm like, I took my profits. No one ever went broke taking profits. I took my profits, and then, boom, Bitcoin drops. Ethereum drops. Sunny just goes on along. I'm like, this makes no sense whatsoever. Why is this happening? And then sure enough, like 3 days later, wham! And I got my Sunny back. I had a buy waiting for it at a 30% loss. It passed that, and it kept going. But I bought back in. So, I made 30%. So I took my extra profits from my successful trades of I don't like try to trade. But if I see something jump in my face and say, hey, I'm up 20% for no apparent reason, and I'm an outlier, I'm the only coin up 20% for no apparent reason, I'm going to sell that. Thank you. I mean, I'm not stupid. I'm going to do that, but I'm not sitting here actively. But then I want my Sunny coin back because I'm using it for liquidity mining. So I'm going to put in a buy when I think it's going to go down. And it took a week to get down there, but it got down there, and I got my buy back. So it worked out. So that's how long I think it'll take Bitcoin to come back. If you're going to ask me to Thorstradamus it, minimum 60 days, maximum end of the year. Somewhere in that neighborhood. I know that's a huge prediction. That's sometime this year because it's January. It sounds really stupid now that I think about it. But we're already seeing a price stabilization happen. That usually, again, here's your next rocket science statement. Prices usually stabilize before a big move. That big move could be up or down. Considering we were down so much, it will probably be up because people are going to buy at these prices. Bitcoin is on sale right now. Ethereum is on mad. It's 25% off right now. Go buy some Ethereum. That way, if you ever want to make an NFT, you can, because you need Ethereum to do that, to buy one anyway. Laptop leasing is still a go. We're going to launch it here in the first quarter. Or desktop. I said laptop. Laptop, desktop, doesn't matter. The computer leasing, lending, we're still trying to come up with a name for it. Literally, I'm using thesaurus as show me words, I don't want to call it Schrock something because everything is Schrock something, but excuse me, we'll get a name for it. But right now, Alfonso is working on creating the structural backend that allows you to come into the service center and then basically complete your purchase, put your deposit down, set up your subscription payments, and then take the computer with you. The challenge we have, setting that up is easy, but the challenge we have is then you modify that computer. So let's say you buy the computer, but then you want to double the memory. Well, you're not going to pay cash for the memory double. It's going to change the amount of monthly payment you pay for the computer, right? So you have to have a way to figure that out. And so we're working on, what if you get a monitor? What if you get a printer? Are you going to pay cash for the printer and cash for the monitor? Or is it going to all be part of your computer deal? Then with printers, for example, let's say you have the computer for 3 years. If the printer dies, does the price of your payment go down because the printer died? So should we even include printers? So there will be certain pieces of hardware that you can add and certain pieces of hardware that are considered consumable that you cannot add. So things that we wouldn't want to put a 3-year warranty on. Routers, for example. We know they have about a 3 to 5 year lifespan before you have to replace them. That would be stupid. Printers. When's the last time you had a printer last more than 3 years? We just did an HP joke story about that. So there are some things like that you're in. Surge protectors. The whole point of a surge protector is to take a surge, to kill itself so your computer doesn't die. You got to buy that stuff. So that's going to be stuff, examples of things you'd have to buy outright. But if you were going to buy a keyboard and a mouse set, or a monitor, or things like that for the computer, those things would be allowable accessories that would go into the price of the computer. So if your monitor died, yes, it would be under warranty. We'd replace it with a new monitor. Does that make sense? So we got to get the code right for that. Alfonso is working on that right now. Kimberly does have skills, Aaron. She's got mad skills. Wait until you see, we haven't had a catalog in a little while because we didn't know what was happening to prices, and we can't get the same cases. So we were waiting to see what the new cases are going to look like. But what we've come to realize is after 8 months, we're not going to have stability in anything we order. So everything is going to look different. So we just may as well pick a picture and go with it. And so we have new photos. She took new pictures of all the computer equipment. And the catalog she is working on right now is super. It's just phenomenal. We haven't changed the core design of the catalogs that we've offered since 2017. And so this is a completely new catalog design. I'm like, you could have just reprinted the same catalog again with new data, right? And no one would have complained. And she said, I know, but we need to keep reaching. Once in a while we send secret shoppers to our competitors. And we get reports back like they must have a cat in there somewhere because it smells like a litter box. Or we get reports back, they have a fish tank for some reason, but the fish were dead. Oh, okay. Or we get they have posters all over the walls, or they have pegboard on the walls. And this is what you get when you go to every other computer repair shop in town. So just the fact that you come into a Schrock Innovations location and we don't have dead fish, cats, pegboards. I did give away on the dog a little bit in Des Moines. Don't remind me about that one. But the fact that we are pretty regimented is a testament to the lovely Kimberly. That otherwise you get a computer repair shop that looks like it's run by a bunch of guys, because most of them are. Yeah. And so anyway, so she's making these new catalogs, and they're just looking phenomenal right now. I can't wait to get them printed. All right, will the holiday special laptops graphics card handle video editing with Premiere Pro and After Effects? Okay, great question. The holiday specials do not have dedicated graphics cards. They're using Intel Iris graphics, which is the new Intel integrated graphics chip. So will it handle it? If you're using it for graphics acceleration, so if you're using Adobe Illustrator and you want to enable GPU acceleration, they will not do that. However, most of the time, for what most people are doing with After Effects and things like that, they're not using GPU acceleration anyway. And the fact that you have a 10th generation i7 means that your processor is powerful enough that you can do everything you want to do CPU based. Of course, within reason. We have one client in the Des Moines area who anytime we come back with a solution just layers more work on the problem. So if I can't copy and paste 40,000 layers at a time and animate them in a Zoom, then this is a piece of garbage computer. And we're like, listen, show me a computer that can do that. Show me one. He's like, the computer that I built in college 6 years ago can do it. No, it can't. No, it can't. Where is this mysterious computer you built 6 years ago in college? I want to see it. I want to see it do what you just did to this computer right here. I want to see that. Anyway, little venting there. Sorry. So what I would encourage you to do is if there is something that you're concerned about, specifically the computer doing or not doing, feel free to come into the service center. You can sit down with one of the computers. Call ahead to make sure that the service center you're coming to has one. I don't expect these to really make it through the week. Considering we got 3 in on Friday and we've already sold 1. The other 2 are going to go pretty quick, and these are the last 3 at the lower price before we're going to have to start marking them up to $1,800. We got to make something on them. Right now we're still selling them at cost because that's what we paid for these. If you want to try it with your Adobe Suite first to make sure it's a computer that you want to buy, then that's fine. We're happy to let you install your Adobe Suite on it and see how it works. I would much rather have you do that than purchase the computer, take it home, use it for a week, and bring it back to return it, after everything is associated to your name and everything like that, because at that point we have to charge a 20% restock fee. And that's never a fun conversation for us to have or for you to have on a $1,600 computer. That would be, $320. And if we did a data transfer, you can't get a refund on that. So we want to make sure it works before you take it home if you're going to use it for something where you're questioning it. But from a memory perspective, it'll slaughter it. From a hard drive perspective, plenty of room. The only thing with the graphics card, it's not going to do graphics acceleration. If you don't need graphics acceleration, then you're good to go. Alrighty. Well, it jumped on me again here. Hold on a second. All right, Cheryl and Rich are here. Good to have you guys. Do you use coin.com for Bitcoin? No, I use Coinbase. I use coinbase.com. Coinbase.com. That's where that's where I buy Ethereum. I'm not buying Bitcoin right now because I have a mine that mines Bitcoin, so I don't need to buy it. But Ethereum, I do buy Ethereum because there's this concept called the flippening, and it's a funny way of saying that at some point the market capitalization of Ethereum will surpass the market capitalization of Bitcoin. One of the reasons for that is, and I wanted to introduce everyone to NFTs. Like I said, it goes way deeper than what I covered on the show, guys. To buy, sell, create NFTs, you burn Ethereum. You burn gas, which is Ethereum, basically. It's created by Ethereum. There is a limited, finite supply of Ethereum. People are going to keep creating stuff. That means there's less Ethereum available. People are going to be using the Ethereum to create stuff, which means there will be a market to buy and sell it. It is entirely possible if Bitcoin doesn't introduce additional technological capabilities, which they have done. No one is using them yet, but they have introduced them now. They can do the same smart contracts with Bitcoin that Ethereum can do. So it's just a matter of if it catches on or not. But right now, Ethereum has first mover status on this stuff. And it is very possible that, let's just say if Bitcoin goes to $100,000, that would be, take the last week's drop. Let's say they go from 50,000 to 100,000. Let's say it doubles, right? At that point, Ethereum was at 4,000. Ethereum would be at 20,000. 5 times more. So for every increase in Bitcoin, I would expect Ethereum to eventually have a 5-fold increase. That and Ethereum is also cheaper to buy, especially right now. Go out and spend $250 on Ethereum and you get a tenth of a coin. It's pretty sizable, considering a tenth of a coin would have cost you $400 2 months ago. So could it drop more? Yep, it could. That's why I do pre-programmed buys. I have dollar cost averaging in place at Coinbase.com. I buy a certain amount of Ethereum every week. Every week. Now, I was really afraid that this dip was going to hit, and my buy doesn't happen until Tuesday. And so it's going to go back up before Tuesday. And so I wanted to make sure I got in at the bottom. So I'm sorry, honey. I did buy $250 worth of Ethereum. I wanted that tenth of a coin because I thought it would go 30% up possibly before Tuesday. And I wanted to get in on it. No one's ever going to fault me for taking profit if you believe at the end of the day that cryptocurrency is going to stabilize and become a staple of society, which already you've got congressmen who are finally understanding. You can't treat cryptocurrency like property and like money at the same time because you're taxing it every which way from Sunday. You got to make up your mind. Is it a currency or is it property? If it's property, it's like gold, and it's gold. You can't treat it all special and different. You can't. It's not SEC regulated then. You can't do that to property. You can't. The SEC doesn't tell you how much your house is worth or whether or not you can sell it or how you have to report the earnings on it or anything like that. The SEC doesn't do that because it's property. But if it's currency, the SEC can do that. So is it property or currency or both? Once they figure this out, and El Salvador is going to be a big help with this, when they introduce their Bitcoin bonds, that is going to be phenomenally powerful, where you're going to be selling bonds that are not denominated in US dollars. And that's going to be the first financialization of cryptocurrency beyond a spot market. And when that happens, people are going to start to understand, okay, you buy a bond, you buy one Bitcoin, right? One Bitcoin bond, with the promise that in 10 years, it will pay a 10% rate of return. Let's just keep the numbers simple. That means at the end of 10 years, I will have 1.1 Bitcoin. Notice how I didn't use the word dollar anywhere in any of that. Dollars can go flip themselves for all Bitcoin cares. It doesn't matter. Now, unless, like Ronald is saying, when is it going to come back up? If you're measuring how much a Bitcoin is worth using the dollar as a yardstick, that's different. But what we're talking about here is if you believe in 10 years that Bitcoin is going to be worth $100,000 a piece, how much is your 10% interest really worth? So let's just say if Bitcoin is worth $100,000, 10% of $100,000 is $10,000, right? So now you just invested $35,000 over 5 years. You made $10,000. Over a 5-year period, you got a 30 something percent rate of return on your money. In a time when the stock market was crashing over a 5-year period. Wow, stagflation, not for me. Oh, I got great return on my Bitcoin bonds. Isn't that how bonds used to work, right? When stocks weren't doing well, bonds typically do well, and when bonds are doing poorly, stocks are going crazy. Bonds are the safe place, right? Now, there's a lot of volatility, so I wouldn't exactly say that Bitcoin bonds are a safe place, because you can have a 30% drop when as measured in dollars, and then all of a sudden you have less dollars, right? Well, though I don't retire on Bitcoin, I retire on dollars. Well, you could retire in El Salvador and spend your Bitcoin there. But the thing is, of course, if you want to convert it to dollars, we're going to convert it to dollars. But let me give you some macro thoughts, deep thoughts. We all know the U.S. dollar last year lost 11% of its purchasing power. If you had $10,000 in a safe, you just burnt $1,000, like literally light it on fire, baby, because the purchasing power of the dollar dropped. At the same time, last year, the purchasing power of Bitcoin as measured in dollars went radically up. I think we might still be up, or 35,000, maybe it was about where it was year over year. So, but even if it's the same as it was at the start of 2021, we didn't lose 11%. Now, you may be looking at your stuff saying you've lost 50% from the high. Okay, fair enough. But if you're measuring it in dollars from an investment perspective, did you do better in Bitcoin or in cash? Is it possible to do worse in Bitcoin than cash? Yeah, it's possible. You can lose money. It can happen. But the thing is I believe in the longer term, and by long term, I'm not talking like 30 years. I'm like, well, stock market always goes up over time. Yeah, so does inflation. So yeah, you give me a compounding 2% rate of inflation annually, and I will show you an upward curve in the prices people pay for stuff. Duh. So yes, stocks go up over time. Well, that's protecting your purchasing power sometimes. We've never had anything like crypto before. And there are other countries that are looking at making crypto national currencies now. Imagine there's a war between Russia and the Ukraine and everything else. Why did Russia come out this week and suggest, it's not a law or anything or even a proposal at this point, but it was a suggestion from one of their ministers of something, that all cryptocurrency should be outlawed in Russia and that all cryptocurrency mining should be outlawed in Russia because it is a way by which people can flow money out of the country. Why would Russia be concerned about that right now? You would think that Russia would be all in on crypto because it allows them to avoid sanctions in the SWIFT network. You can pay people in Bitcoin, and you can't sanction Bitcoin. You can't take people's Bitcoin from them. You can't, seize it. You can't sanction it. You can't stop it. You'd think that it would be a little more popular over there right now. I don't know what's going on over there in Russia, but I do know I did a shift in my 401k, though, and made sure I had some exposure to oil. Everyone's like, oil could go to $100 a barrel. And I'm thinking, oil was at $100 a barrel when George W. Bush was in office. If there's something that goes on with Russia and the Ukraine, and in that moment Iran decides to be a butt too, we could see $150 oil. So I think there's some upside there. Oh, let's see here. How about naming your upcoming rental program Share Time, deliberately changing the spelling of time? Always had my students come up with unique entrepreneurship names. Share Time? Schrock Time? Yeah, don't call it Schrock something. Um, I was trying to find a word that I was trying to play on. There was a thing that we always joke about. You guys remember e-machines? There was like a little junky computer brand that was sold at Best Buy for a while. E-machines put a sticker on the front of one of their computers. They had a K62 450 processor in it, old AMD chip. And it said, never obsolete. Now, similar, they were going by a modular concept, same thing we're doing, except I would never tell you that a computer is never obsolete because that's stupid. Of course, a computer will be obsolete someday. Now, how long is the trick? We say 4 to 6 years. The average computer lasts 18 months. There you go. This computer leasing rental idea, though, means that if that would ever happen, if your computer becomes obsolete, you just trade it in for a new one. So you are genuinely never obsolete. And so I was trying to think of like a pseudonym for everlasting or undying or eternal. And of course, you get a lot of religious things. I'm like, I don't want to go there with it because people. It's like it's the Jesus computer. No, it's not like that. It's not going to come back if it dies. It's just it dies, it's dead. But you get what I'm saying. I was trying to come up with a name that spoke that concept that this is the solution that you could have forever if you want. Never have any repair bills again. Never be concerned about warranty renewals and things like that. Flat rate all the time, doesn't go up. Contracted flat rate that can't increase. Excuse me. Oh my. With inflation, But that time, I like the idea. I like the way you change the word time with a Y. That's kind of cool. Good morning, Thor. Who in your shop would be the best person to contact to hook up my church office's PCs into your support offerings? That would be Eli. Eli is our corporate services division, and I know it's not a corporation, but it's a similar thing. It's an organization that has the demands of an organization funneled through the contact of a person. So Eli is in our Lincoln Service Center. I'm going to go ahead and reply to you here with his direct phone number, 402-423-9595. Oh, wow. Somebody already answered you. It was the lovely Kimberly. She jumped in there and answered you already. So there you go. I'm a little slow to the party. Okay. Got that one there. Yes. Any update on the Bnsf strike? What I've heard so far is that they are bringing in lawyers to try to litigate it right now. They did take a vote. I haven't heard anything more about the vote or the results of the vote, but I've heard that they believe that the actions of the railroad are a violation of their collective bargaining agreement, and therefore they're going to sue, I guess. I don't know. So no strike is good right now, especially with the truck situation going into effect. Do you pay secret shoppers to go shopping? And where do the secret shoppers you get them from? Asking for a friend. I don't know where Parker gets his secret shoppers from. I think they might be friends of his that come in and they get stuff done and they pay and then he reimburses them. So, yeah, they're not buying computers and stuff like that. They're coming in for repair work, and we want to make sure, like, if a customer has AVG, that somebody at least talk to them about Sophos. So one of the problems that we have in the service centers is our people are human beings, right? And a customer comes in and they say, I don't have a lot of money to spend on a computer, so I just want to see what the minimum amount is I can do to get this up and running, okay? Do we have an obligation for that customer if they're infected with a virus and they're running junky antivirus? That's not why they brought it in. Should we still let them know they're infected with a virus and offer them Sophos? Yeah, we should. Even though we know the customer can't afford it because they told us they can't afford it. And one of the hardest things to hammer into our guys is it's not your job to decide what our customers can and can't afford. Your job is to tell them what they need to do to be secure, safe, and fast. That's the job. So if they choose to be unsecure, unsafe, or slow as a turtle on a cold day, that's their choice. But they made the choice, you see. If you don't give them the option and they get infected anyway, maybe it's your fault they're infected. We look at it that way. So that's what we use the secret shoppers to do. They go in and they present situations that are confrontational or difficult, and we see how especially the young junior techs respond to that, and then we critique. We also do phone spot checks where we take callers that call. We have secret shoppers or sometimes phones where people call in and they give a problem that is something that can't be solved in 2 minutes or less, but they try to get the technician to solve it in 2 minutes or less. They try to get the technician to give them a free Schrock desk by telling them they're a subscriber when they're not. Happens all the time. And genuinely, sometimes it's confusion. Maybe you have a subscription to Secure Updater and you think that's also a subscription to the Schrock desk. Or you have a subscription to Sophos. Or, there's lots of subscriptions you can have, so maybe you're just confused about which one you've got. That happens. So these are all training points that we use to make our staff train better so that when people do call in, we efficiently move them through the process. If it's something we can solve in 2 minutes, great. If it's not, then we have to transition that phone call to a Schrock desk. If they're not a subscriber, they can pay the one-time use fee or they can subscribe. Or 2, an in-shop visit, or 3, an on-site. You can't stay on the phone for an hour and a half with somebody, solve a problem for them. They feel good, you feel good, but I'm looking at you like, what did you get done in the last hour? We're a business. We need to generate revenue if your time is valuable. So anyway, all this is training. We train people to do the things that make customers happy. And when it comes to the point where we have to charge something, don't be bashful about telling a customer what they need to do. Great conversation I had with Kane in my Lincoln Service Center the other day is he said, in Lincoln, we've been around for 23 years. A lot of the people coming into the Lincoln Service Center have everything, Thor. They've got Sophos. They've got Secure Updater. They're up to date. They have prepaid maintenance certificates. They are long-time Schrockville customers. And they do it right. So therefore, we're not hitting goal, for example, or we didn't get, our sales goals because we didn't have the opportunity to sell anything to anybody without selling somebody something that they don't necessarily need. I loved that response. I loved it because he said, there is a line of morality that I will not cross. I'm not going to sell people things they don't need, nor do I want you to. What I want you to do is when a customer comes in with a 2015 holiday special that's not Windows 11 compatible, to at least give them the option of a new processor and motherboard so they can choose whether or not they want to run Windows 11. That's the whole point of the modular computer, right? We can switch the parts out to make it a current computer so you can do current computer things. Oh yeah. Had a customer in Lincoln last week decide take his 2017 holiday special and ratchet it on up. He went full Ryzen, and it was amazing. He is so happy with that computer right now. It's just you got to give people their options. And sometimes my guys get stuck in the loop, right? And so the secret shopper calls are a way for us to check and see: are you stuck in a loop? Are you offering the options that we want you to offer? Are you thinking outside the box? What can I do to make this customer's computing experience better, as opposed to what pre-programmed things am I supposed to offer you that everyone needs comes across my bench? Because everybody needs antivirus, and everybody needs their Windows version updated, and everybody needs Secure Updater, and everybody needs Drive Advisor. Not everybody needs a full Ryzen upgrade. Not everybody needs a backup hard drive. There are things that people need that you need to give them the choice about. Check the backup when they're in here. Make sure. I caught 2 that weren't running. People had backup drives, even called them backup. I don't know if they just thought hooking them up made them backup drives or what, but no, they weren't running any backups. So when I noticed you had a backup hard drive and no backup setup, let me set up your backup for you and run one real quick. How about that? Those are the things that we need our guys to, that's an extra measure, extra over and above, to notice these things and correct them so that you have a smooth experience at home. So no, Aaron, we don't pay them to go shop, unfortunately. The strike hasn't happened yet. It'll be in the next month, if anything. 2 federal judges are being courted to block the strike. Yeah, that's what I heard too. The union, the Bnsf was trying to preemptively stop the union from striking. Does anyone actually think Russia is moving that many troops just outside of Ukraine because the troops need more practice camping out? I heard Ukraine has more troops on the border than Russia. The difference is lack of equipment and lack of training. They're conscripting citizens, whereas Russia is putting active professional military on the border. And the equipment is dramatically better on the Russian side. There is no doubt that if Russia does a full force invasion of the Ukraine, they will win. There is no doubt. It's just a matter of how painful the Ukraine can make it for Russia to do. Ironically, the more painful it is, the less likely a minor incursion is going to happen, and the more likely it'll be some major incursion. Not to play on the minor-major incursion controversy of the week. But it is super scary because, I mean, this is the exact same thing that Hitler did, right? And I'm not one of these people that looks at Russia and is like, ooh, evil Russia, bad, 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 you know, that knee-jerk reaction that everyone seems to have toward Russia. Russia's a pretty predictable beast. Putin's told us what he wants to do. He wants to reconstitute the former USSR in all of its glory. Why are we acting surprised when he does things to bring these satellite provinces back under his control? He told you he was going to do that. You should listen to people. You know, not everybody promises they're going to do one thing when they're elected and then does something different. Not everyone promises to be a moderate when they're running for office, but then when they get elected, rules from the right or the left. Not everybody does that. You know, Trump told you what he was going to do, and then he did it, and everyone was like, oh my God, he did what he was going to do. This is ridiculous. You know, it's kind of funny. You kind of expect a politician to not do what they say they're going to do. Putin is going to do exactly what he said he's going to do. That's why I changed my portfolio and made sure I had some oil exposure and some gold exposure, mineral miners. Yeah. No problem, Pat. Thank you for thinking of us. I really appreciate you considering us to work with the church there. My dad bought my mom an E-machine. That computer ran for a while. Didn't cause my mom too many problems. No, I mean, they were computer. Computer's a computer, but to put a never obsolete sticker on the front of one of those would be kind of like putting a you'll only rear end it once sticker on the back of a Pinto. You know, it's like, no, it's just not appropriate. All righty. I should hire that lady. The new BNSF policy is stupid. It is stupid, and it was really stupid for them to try to sell it as a perk. I don't know who they thought they were gonna, to fool with that one. All right. Sometimes management can make decisions and be very stupid. Yes, they can. Management can, and this is like, for example, I mentioned I'm spending a lot of time in Lincoln. Lincoln is very focused on achieving the metrics that we lay out in front of them. I want you to do this much in sales. I want you to satisfy this many customers. I want you to keep your warranty percentage below a certain amount. We want you to fix it right the first time. So we want your warranty ticket percentage down low, and we want more reviews. You know, your review rate is low, things like that. And so I go down there to try to figure out why. They've got all the same stuff on paper that every other service center has. They've got great technicians that care about their customers. They've got technical capabilities. They have all the equipment. They've got the entire package. So why am I getting a different result? Why is it that I had to pick which of the 3 emails I was going to read about Trenton this morning in the Omaha Service Center? But I don't have a single compliment from the Lincoln Service Center. Well, why is that? Thank you for calling Schrock Innovations. This is Thor. How can I help you? Versus, thank you for calling Schrock Innovations. This is Thor. How can I help you today? Well, first of all, you can't get a compliment if they don't know your name. So, you got to say your name a little slower and clearer there. And, you've all heard that, right? It was kind of hilarious. Men's clothing stores are the worst. Thank you for calling Men's Clothing Store, where our suits are on sale for 50% off, and you can buy one, get one tie free, or buy one, get one shirt free, and belts are on sale for 20% off. How can I help you today? You know, we've all heard that one. You're like, Jesus Kraft, you had to read, did you read that off a card? No, I've memorized it. Like, oh my goodness, that's awful. Right? So I'm not asking my guys to do that. I'm just asking them to answer the phone a specific way. Thank you for calling Schrock Innovations. This is Thor. How may I help you? If you don't answer the phone that way, the secret shopper will tell me. You know, if we ask you to put people on hold, you ask them if they can hold. Have you ever been put on hold? Can you hold for a minute? Or no, sorry. Please hold. You don't think anything of it. You're like, okay, I'm on hold, whatever. Do, 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 do. You know, whatever, music. Well, we ask people if they can be put on hold. Can I ask you to hold, please? And sometimes customers don't say anything because they think they've already been put on hold. So then we ask them again. Can we ask you to hold for just a moment while I check on that for you? Oh, yeah, sure. That's fine. Okay, thank you. I'll be right back with you. Then when you come back, you always thank them for holding, and you confirm that you're still there because, number one, you thank them because that's the nice thing to do, and number two, we have 4 phone lines. Make sure you pick up the right line. Make sure you're talking to the right person. Nothing's worse than to pick up the wrong line and be like, yeah, your computer's hosed, man. It's totally torched. But I was just going to bring it in for a maintenance check. Like, oh, I'm sorry. You're on line 3. Sorry about that. Your computer's fine. Let me put you back on hold. Oh, whoopsie. Oh, may I ask you to hold, please? You know, so you always confirm these things. And then you have to teach kids that phone calls have an ending because they'll just hang up when they're done talking. Like, all right, I'll be over at 3. All right. There's no over and out. There's no goodbye. There's no roger that. Nothing. Just ends the call. Well, with a customer, sometimes that can be perceived as being rude. Like, can be perceived as hanging up on a customer. So, is there anything else that I can do to help you out while I have you on the line today? All right, well, thanks for your call. We really appreciate it. Have a great afternoon. So we regiment the way that the phone is handled, and we train our people to do it that way. And then we use secret shoppers to make sure they're doing, secret callers we call them, to make sure that things are being done that way. And so, you know, you go down there and it's like everything is being done by the book, but there's just that X factor that's missing. And it's amazing, you know, you go down there for a few days, and we sent a couple of technicians back and forth, and so they can experience, you know, Lincoln is distant from the other two. Omaha and Papillion, they can swap staff back and forth, so those two shops tend to trend together. And Des Moines, everything is fresh and flowery and new in Des Moines. Every customer that walks in the door needs everything we offer. I mean, it's a panacea of opportunity in Des Moines. And in Lincoln, it's kind of the opposite of that. And then because they don't get a lot of crosstalk from the other shops aside from our signal chat groups, you know, it gets to be kind of a rut where they walk in the door expecting one thing, and then all of a sudden I come down there and I'm like, no, you can't wear a hoodie at work with the hood up. Why? Because I said so. Because I don't like it. Because it makes you unapproachable. Especially because it's shielding like your eyes. And it's like, no, I don't like it. I don't like it. Take it off. No, you can't sit in a stool and work on a computer. Why? I get it. If you're working on something really complex that you need to focus on, you're going to sit in front of it, right? My experience is that when you give an employee a stool to sit on, they plant their buns on the stool and they don't move. You have 30 other computers in this service center that need your attention. You don't have time to sit and look at one for a half an hour straight. Do something, move on. Do something, move on. Do your laps, go around the room. This is what we do. Get my steps in by 2 o'clock every day because I'm doing the laps, right? And in that way, and then, you know, little things like, you know, I do all my phone calls at the end of the day. I'm like, no, you don't. Why? Well, because if you do all the phone calls at the end of the day, this computer may have been repaired at 11 o'clock, but by calling a customer at 7:30, you have robbed them of the opportunity to come in and pick up that computer before we close, when they could have. These are people's babies. These are computers that people need back. These are computers that it's downtime to not have back. Not to mention the fact you worked your butt off to get them done. You want to put the money in the bank, right? So call the customer. It works out best for everybody. You know what I mean? And so there's little things like that, just little cultural things that aren't, if you put them on a piece of paper, I'm not going to blow someone's world up because they sat on a stool. But when I look at the camera twice in a half an hour and I see you sitting in front of the same computer for a half an hour, I'm going to blow your world up over that. It's like, teaching my managers that even though you're hourly, when you're off on the weekends, you still need to check in because you're responsible for the outcome of your service centers. You have to still make sure that everything is going good. Make sure that everyone knows you're paying attention. And so these are the lessons that we're going to be transferring culturally back to the Lincoln Service Center. So if you are a Lincoln customer and you have not been in for a while, first of all, we got some specific complaints about specific individuals. I'm not going to name them here. It's not about that. Those people are gone. The people that we have in that service center now genuinely care about the outcome that they're giving customers. And I would love to give them the opportunity to help you out. They need the reps. I'm going to be there. I put in 30 hours in the Lincoln Service Center this week. I'll be down at least another 30 hours this next week. So your odds are pretty good of actually getting to work directly with me if I'm there. But it was amazing, the turnaround time. Because I walked in the door in Lincoln and it was just, you can walk into a room and you can feel the energy is off. And it doesn't feel off to anybody in the room. Everyone's like, this is how it always is. But I'm like, yeah, I can't put my finger on it, but this feels slightly dystopian. I don't know. I don't like it. It doesn't feel good. Okay, what are we going to do about that? Well, they're 20-year-old guys. They're not exactly impressed by my 45-year-old razzle-dazzle, But everybody loves success, and success breeds success. And everybody loves a happy customer. And happy customers breed happy customers. So all you have to do is start to get that ball rolling, and then it takes care of itself. So if you've had a great experience in the Lincoln Service Center, I would really appreciate it if you would take the time to single out by name the people you've had a great experience with. I went down there, and there's four employees in that service center. I went down there on Monday, and Monday there were 7 people that came in between 10 a.m. and noon. Of the 7 people, 6 of them asked for Chris specifically by name. Well, maybe they all had something going on with him, I don't know, but they asked for him. And of those 7, 5 of them pulled me aside to tell me what a good job he was doing. Like, hey, Thor, you're here. I'm so glad you're here. So I know there are good things happening in the Lincoln Service Center. I know Chris is the source of a lot of those good things. As a result, when you come in, chances are Chris is going to check you in. If you call, chances are Chris is going to answer the phone. Because when you have somebody whose bucket like mine gets filled by providing good customer service, like when I'm in a foul mood, my wife sends me to the shop. She goes, you need to go help some customers. Because I feel better after I do that. And he's like me in that regard. You get somebody like that, the best thing you can do is keep their bucket full, my man. Let them help the customers. Customers like it too. So that's why they ask for them. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. There are really good things happening there, but there are also some things that are it's just weird. Those X factor things that aren't there, that when you walk into a Schrock location, you expect that X factor, and I want to make sure we're giving it to you. So I'm going to be hanging out down there a little bit, Xing it up. So if you want to stop by and say hi, I'd appreciate seeing you. Otherwise, guys, I got to wrap it up here on the show here. Let me just make sure that there's no additional comments I missed here. I did not know there was a BETO ETF. Have you looked at Alto, IRA Bitcoin accounts? I have not. Ethereum down 3% in the last hour. All I had to do was say something, right? And it's down 3%. So the thing is with these hourly charts, because crypto trades 24 hours a day, you can't always look at the percentages up or down, because you can have peaks and valleys that cause it to be off. Ethereum's at $2,400, which is exactly where it was last night. So it did pop overnight, though. It went up to 25.51 and as low as 23.19, and it was everywhere, up and down like an accordion. So as you go through the day, as the 24-hour window moves across the timeline, you're going to get, it's 5% up, it's 4% down, it's 3% down, it's 2% up. You're going to get that. So don't pay, it's not like a stock. You can't pay attention to the ups and down percentages unless you're looking at a macro chart. Like over the last 6 months, Bitcoin is up 60%. There you go. Looking at this chart, I mean, I bought in at 2,400 and we're at 24.29. So from my perspective, Bitcoin is up $30 since I bought. or sorry, Ethereum. Ethereum's up $30 since I bought. Yay! And according to Coinbase right now, it's 0.41% down on the day. So almost a 0.5%. So it'll bounce around depending on, so don't pay attention to the percentage moves. All right, my Mac reminded me about 20 minutes ago that it's been 367 days since I last backed up my computer. I need to back it up now. Yeah, it's time to time machine that thing. I had a job once where one of the managers said, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. Yep, that was one of the other things I introduced, the concept clean as you go. Like, I'm harkening back to my Valentino's management days. I'm like, you guys, we need to clean as we go. What do you mean clean as we go? That means when you take a computer off the bench, when you open up that bench spot because you finish a job, take a moment to spray the counter and just wipe it down. Amazing how much cleaner your bench looks. You know, as you clear computers, you're wiping down each spot, you know, as opposed to letting them go for days and days and days and days and days and days and weeks without being cleaned. You know, clean as you go. Yay. That's all good. You see, the thing is, I love what I do. And I love being able to go in there and see something that I can do that'll make a difference for customers, even if it's something as stupid simple as wiping down the bench. Because the pride that it's kind of funny, they have a sticker. They got Best of Lincoln again this year. And they have the sticker on the front door, right? So that every customer coming in the front door sees that sticker and knows that we're the best in Lincoln. When you come to work every day, and you're expected to do the things that we expect of our employees every day, it becomes normal to you, right? I mean, it's true of any job, I suppose. It becomes normal. And, you know, was it normal for the Patriots to be excellent? You know, it just became normal. You just expected it, right? They gave us 2 stickers, right? We only have 1 door. They gave us 2 stickers. So I was going through clean as you go, right? I was walking past it. I saw something that has no earthly purpose existing in this service center. Therefore, it should be into the circular file. And I grabbed that sticker and I looked at the circular file and I thought to myself, we have 2 doors in this service center. And I want those guys, every time they come to work in the morning, to look at that sticker on the back door and know that they're walking into the best computer repair service center in the city of Lincoln. And remember that. Because that's not something that's granted. That's something that's earned. And if you don't remember that, eventually you're going to forget. That's profound right there. You see that? And when you forget, then things start to slip. So we want you to remember. We want our staff to remember. And therefore our customers will remember. And then they'll keep voting us Best of Lincoln, which would be great. It'd be nice one year if we got more votes than Best Buy, though. I mean, we're the best independent one in Lincoln, but overall Best Buy wins every year because everyone's like, oh, you need a computer, you go to Best Buy. Well, given how many computers they have available for sale, maybe people are going to vote for Schrock next year because more people will have bought computers there, hopefully. The remaining holiday special laptops, Doug, are $15.99, so the same price as they were during the sale. We have 2 units left that we received. If you missed the beginning of this, we got a shipment. We ordered in October. We ordered holiday specials. We just got the last 3 delivered last Friday. We sold 1 in the Lincoln Service Center that day. Guy walked in the door, said, I'm looking for a bit of a punch, a computer with a punch. Well, holiday specials got the punch. There you go. We have 2 left. And so I'm transferring 1 to the Lincoln Service Center that's in stock right now in Lincoln. Lincoln is open today from noon to 5. The other one is available in our Omaha Service Center. Omaha Service Center also open noon to 5, 168th and Burke. So you can stop into either one of those if you want to go to the Papillion Service Center, or maybe if you're a Des Moines customer, Des Moines is closed today. So if you want to call in to any of our Nebraska shops, we can record the sale for you and have it transferred to the Des Moines sale or center so that you can pick it up wherever you want. But on the website, they currently are listed as out of stock because we did not. Inventory management system assumed we were going to ask for a refund on these because we hadn't received them in 2 months. And then all of a sudden we ask for a refund and they show up the next day and we're like, oh, okay then. And so now we've got them and we can't send them back because the order was more than 30 days old. So even though we didn't receive them for a period of time, that's just how the world works in computers. So we can't send them back to ASUS and we've got them now. So we could mark them up and sell them for $1,800 like we're going to do on future ones that are sold. But honestly, I just like to get the money back in the bank, turn these over, And right now, people are really looking for computers, so this is a really good opportunity for you to pick one up. We got 2 left. All right, guys, got to run. Thanks for joining us here. I appreciate it. I hope this made up a little bit for the crappy audio at the end of the other show. I give you an hour and 10 minutes, all right? And I tried. Fairly well subscribed, up to 70 viewers at times, sitting around 55 right now as we wrap up. But I appreciate you joining me. It means a lot. It means a lot to me that you're here, and I'd love to see you in the service center coming up this week. Have a great afternoon.